How I overcame everything and rebuilt my life from scratch. For a long time, I carried the image of someone who seemed to have everything under control. I had a good job, a stable relationship, and a seemingly peaceful routine. But inside, I was in pieces. I didn't sleep well, I was constantly tired, and I felt like a stranger in my own life. Laura, my partner of almost 3 years, was seen by everyone as the ideal partner. At first, I believed it too. She was attentive, intelligent, and engaging. But as time went on, I realized that the love between us was becoming an invisible prison. And the worst part is that it took me a while to realize how suffocated I was already. With every conversation about my dreams, Laura found a subtle way to demotivate me. She told me I should be more realistic, that it was a waste of time to think about moving to another city or trying something new. I, who had always been driven by ideas and ambitions, began to shrink. Each comment from her made me doubt myself more. Before I knew it, I was no longer making decisions for myself, making plans or listening to myself. All I did was try to avoid conflict, even if it cost me my own happiness. That's when I realized I was no longer living, just existing within someone else's will. Things began to fall apart when I realized I no longer recognized the reflection in the mirror. That tired look, the lack of sparkle. It felt like my essence had been lost somewhere along the way. Laura demanded my presence, but withdrew emotionally. And when I tried to talk, she made me feel like I was the problem. I accepted it silently for a long time, thinking it was just a phase. But the emptiness only grew. I would wake up with a lump in my throat and go to sleep feeling like a failure. It was at that point that I realized something inside me needed to change, urgently. In the midst of all this, disappointments with the people I called friends began to set in. When fatigue began to overwhelm me and I withdrew, few noticed. The messages stopped, the invitations vanished, and it was painful to realize that many people only stick around as long as you're interesting. Laura became increasingly cold, and the silence between us weighed more heavily than any argument. I tried to feign normalcy, but deep down, loneliness had become routine. It was during this period that I began to question everything, my relationship, my choices, even my worth. There were nights when I seriously considered giving up. I wanted to disappear, start over somewhere else, far from everything and everyone. But an old memory stopped me. My father telling me that life knocks everyone down, but only those who choose not to get up stay down. That kept hammering away at me for days. And so, without a clear plan, I decided to try something different. Small goals, simple steps. Get out of bed, make coffee, walk a little. They seemed trivial, but with each one, I felt a spark rekindle within me. It wasn't much, but it was a start. When I decided to take control of my own life, I started slowly but with determination. Each small step gave me the feeling of regaining something I had lost, my autonomy. I began organizing my time, studying topics that had always interested me, watching motivational videos, and even writing about my experiences in a journal. It seemed insignificant to outsiders, but to me it was like planting the seeds of a new beginning. With each page written, each piece of knowledge absorbed, I felt closer to rediscovering the Gabriel I had lost in the past. In the midst of this process, an old passion I'd forgotten about resurfaced: photography. I'd always enjoyed capturing moments, but I'd never taken it seriously. I decided to invest in my talent with what I had, buying a simple but functional camera. I walked around the city capturing everyday scenes, seeking beauty in the details that went unnoticed. Each click was a step toward reconnecting with myself. At first, no one understood what I was doing. Some even made fun of me. But inside me, something grew. It was as if each image also recorded my own reconstruction. Over time, my project began to gain visibility. I created a website to share my work and dedicated myself to it daily. Interacting with people who appreciated my photos filled me with a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time, genuine recognition. For the first time, I wasn't trying to please Laura, friends, or family. My focus was on my own growth, my own expression, and that feeling of emptiness that had haunted me gradually began to be filled with purpose, with the certainty that I could create something meaningful with my own hands. As my work spread, small professional opportunities began to emerge. A local cafe hired me for promotional photos. Then a clothing store asked me to photograph their products. Each completed project made me realize I was capable of more than I'd imagined. Each payment I received, however modest, was proof that I could start over and be independent. That feeling of freedom, of being able to decide my own path, was indescribable. With each achievement, I moved closer to the version of myself that had been buried by years of self-doubt and emotional manipulation. But it wasn't all success and recognition. There were days of intense insecurity, sleepless nights, and failed projects. However, instead of getting discouraged, I used each failure as fuel. Each obstacle became a lesson in resilience, in never giving up. With each step, I grew stronger, and the feeling of helplessness began to fade. My routine transformed. Waking up early, seeking new ideas, studying and practicing my talent became a ritual of rebuilding. I was reclaiming my life, not the way Laura or others wanted, but my way, with my own rules and my own freedom. With each new project completed, my self-esteem grew. I began to realize that all that time feeling small and undervalued didn't define who I truly was. The pain caused by Laura, by the friends who drifted away, by the criticism I'd carried for years, began to transform into fuel. Each photograph I took wasn't just an image, but a record of my own overcoming. For the first time, I felt like my actions reflected my choices, not anyone else's expectations. It was liberating to realize I was rebuilding my life with my own hands. As my work gained recognition, some people who had previously underestimated me began to notice my evolution. Friends who had drifted away out of convenience or fear returned, intrigued and surprised by my transformation. Some family members began to praise me, no longer out of obligation, but because they sensed something genuine had changed within me. But I no longer sought external approval. The most important thing was my self-perception. Every compliment, every recognition only served to reinforce that I was on the right path, following my own life path. Amid these changes, my relationship with Laura transformed. She reappeared on my social media, liked posts, sent messages, and tried to justify past actions. But I was no longer the same person who felt diminished and vulnerable. I had learned to set boundaries and value my own space. There was no resentment, only awareness. My life had moved on, and there was no room for regression. I was focused on building something lasting, and she wasn't part of that. I finally understood that some people enter our lives only to teach us lessons. About self-worth and inner strength, the impact of these changes was also reflected in my daily routine. I dedicated myself with discipline, waking up early, studying new photography techniques, seeking partnerships, exploring side projects. Every small victory was celebrated, and I began to notice that my personal growth was becoming increasingly solid. The feeling of being able to decide my life, of reconnecting with my passions, transformed my daily life into a rewarding experience. I felt proud of myself, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. And more than that, I was beginning to inspire people who followed my journey. Photography, which was once just a hobby, became a bridge to new opportunities. Small contracts multiplied, and partnerships with local shops, cafes, and events began to emerge. Each achievement was the result of effort, perseverance, and courage. And most importantly, each step I took reinforced the fact that I could create my own story without relying on anyone to validate my worth. The feeling of independence and control over my life filled me with energy. Finally, I was living for myself, guided by my passions and the purpose I had rediscovered within myself. As my projects grew, I realized my story could be more than just my own overcoming. It could inspire others. I began sharing my journey on social media, describing my struggles, the days of doubt, the stumbles, and the small victories. The response was immediate and moving. People I'd never met sent messages of gratitude, saying my experiences helped them believe in themselves. For the first time, I felt my pain had been transformed into something useful, a learning experience and inspiration for those facing similar challenges. The feeling of helping others, even from afar, filled me with purpose. Every positive comment, every sincere message reminded me that my choices, however simple, had value. I realized that overcoming a difficult phase wasn't just about me. It was about the strength I could impart, the example I set, the legacy of resilience I could share. Gabriel's transformation wasn't just personal. It was a light that began to reach other lives, showing that it was possible to start over, even after moments of great pain. Meanwhile, my financial independence was solidifying. More clients appeared, new opportunities presented themselves, and my work began to be valued professionally. Each contract signed, each recognition earned, reinforced the idea that I could build my own path based on effort and talent. This stability brought me a sense of security I had never experienced before. The feeling of being in control of my destiny, of controlling my future, was incredible. I felt proud of myself, not because of comparisons to others, but because of the courage to turn things around. Even with all these achievements, I remained humble and mindful of the lessons of the past. I remembered how I felt weakened, manipulated, and devalued. This helped me avoid repeating patterns and stay focused on what truly mattered, my growth and authenticity. I learned that my life didn't need to be perfect, but rather authentic. And that true freedom came from choosing to prioritize myself, without guilt, without fear, without the need to please those who don't contribute anything. Ultimately, I realized that my story of overcoming was also about rebuilding healthy relationships and leaving behind everything that was hurting me. I reconnected with people who truly cared about me, established clear boundaries, and valued my own peace. Each step in this new phase reinforced that life is made of choices. Choosing to move forward, choosing to value yourself, choosing to reinvent yourself. Gabriel, the man who once felt small, was now someone who knew his worth and was ready to live his life fully, without constraints and with purpose. Over the next few months, my life took a completely different path. Every step I took, every conscious decision to prioritize my dreams and my well-being solidified the transformation I had been building. Gabriel, who had once felt trapped and worthless, now felt proud of himself, not only for his professional achievements, but for having learned to respect himself, prioritize himself, and live according to his own principles. Each morning began with energy, purpose, and the certainty that the future was built by my choices. The impact of this change was also reflected in my relationships. True, friends grew closer, new connections emerged, and I realized I was surrounded by people who truly supported me. Those who previously discouraged me or who only approached me out of convenience remained at a distance, and this no longer bothered me. I learned the difference between sincere companionship and passing interest. Gabriel had become someone capable of clearly discerning who deserved to be part of his life and who no longer deserved space. My passion for photography blossomed into something bigger than I ever imagined. Projects that were once small turned into meaningful opportunities, local exhibitions, event invitations, brand collaborations, and satisfied clients. More than recognition, it was proof that effort, dedication, and persistence always bear fruit. Each click of the camera became a symbol of my own journey, of the ability to transform pain into art and challenges into tangible achievements. And it was in this process that I realized something profound. Overcoming isn't just about getting back up, but also about transforming the experience itself into learning and inspiration. The hardships I'd experienced, the toxic relationship with Laura, the moments of doubt and insecurity, all of this had become part of my strength. Gabriel, who had previously felt small and insecure, was now someone who could look back without resentment and forward with hope. The freedom he had achieved came not from external conditions, but from the awareness of his own worth and capabilities. Today, reflecting on everything, I see that my journey is living proof that rebirth is possible. No matter how deep the abyss, there is always the chance to rebuild, learn, evolve, and thrive. Every difficulty, every disappointment, every moment of pain became stepping stones toward my ascension. Gabriel not only survived, he flourished. And the greatest reward is knowing that my story can serve as inspiration for those struggling to find their own freedom, courage, and purpose, showing that true overcoming is made of choices, resilience, and self-love.